Hey watch lovers, Brad from Brent Miller Jewelers. Today I thought we'd go over how to use the tachymeter function on your chronograph. So I pulled out, I thought it was fitting, the Omega Speedmaster racing model here that we have in stock. I'm not going to go over this watch specifically. I've done reviews on it previously. I'll link, if you're here because you saw this in the thumbnail, I will link the review of this watch in the description. You can go there to take a look at the dimensions and the specs on it. But today's really just to go over, if you own a chronograph, or maybe you're familiar, maybe you're not, on how to actually use this tachymeter scale on the outer part of your chronograph here. Some of them previously, and some models will have it on the inside, underneath the, on the outer kind of chapter ring underneath the crystal. Omega here, obviously on the bezel. And when this was released, when the Speedmaster was released, I believe Omega was the first one to actually put the tachymeter scale on the bezel itself. So fun fact for you there as well. But really, again, if you know what you're doing with the chronograph, I'll link the how to operate a chronograph in the description as well. So I'm going to assume you know how to work the chronograph. But how you use the tachymeter scale, you're going to hit your start button on your chronograph. Your second hand will start. And what I should have mentioned before I started this is we need to have a kind of a pre-measured distance. So the best example I can use is if you're on the highway and you hit a mile marker, you hit mile marker 1, you hit that down as soon as you pass it. And let's say you want to go to mile marker 2, and we're going to find out what the average speed is from 1 to 2. We just hit 2, and we are going to stop it right now. Where your second hand is pointing, right around the 140. So your average, and again, this would either be kilometers or miles per hour, whichever metric you're using, but it would be 140 miles per hour would be your average speed from your mile marker 1 to your mile marker 2. So again, you got to have the 2 points kind of predetermined to measure that elapsed speed over that predetermined distance. So hopefully that helps. Hopefully I explained that relatively quickly for you. Again, if there's any questions or comments, please feel free to share them in the comments. My question for you, though, my takeaway from you for you in this video is, how many chronograph owners out there, and I want the truth, have actually used their tachymeter to measure speed across the predetermined distance in the ownership of the watch? I'm really curious to hear this. I, for one, have never used it in any chronograph I've owned. However, it's nice to know what it does, and I guess if I wanted to use it. And I'll ask a follow-up question. How many chronograph owners out there even use the chronograph? Admittedly, I hate to say this, I very rarely have ever used the chronograph function on a chronograph watch that I've owned. Again, love the look of them, love the functionality of them, but for me, it's just not something I actually use. And so I think that's interesting too, as watch owners. We have these functionalities, these functions in these highly complicated machines. Do we actually use them? So let me know in the comments, do you use your chronograph, and do you use the tachymeter on your chronograph? So as always, thanks for viewing. If there's anything I can do for you, shoot me an email, brad@brentlmiller.com, and we'll see you in the next video.